Hello everyone, welcome back to the SMITE Guide to Ymir. This is Joust, which is really the ideal place to splash a little bit of damage on Ymir. Now, the reason why is because Kronos obviously uses auto attacks quite a good bit. And while Thanatos has good auto attacks, he's probably not going to focus on them, but he can still gain some benefits as well. But why would you want to splash some damage on Ymir in Joust? Well, in Joust, having all three of your team members do at least some damage is pretty important because there's only 3 enemies. And as the official tank of the 3 of you, you don't need quite as much defense as you normally would because you have at most 3 people attacking you. Now Ymir, because he's got the ice wall to block off at least 1 enemy, and he can freeze another 1 or 2, it's pretty easy for Ymir to either avoid or just outright stop damage coming in and, you know, actually weakening him down. So it's pretty easy to control how much damage is coming at you in Joust. Again, there's only 3 enemies to deal with. As such, there's really not as much need for protections in Joust as there is in other modes, with more enemies that can potentially kill you. So, as a result, this is really one of the best places to actually splash in Gilded Arrow and start going into some more significant builds with some more aggression. You know what? We're not going to go with those. We're just going to go for multi-potions here. And really just use this little bit of extra damage to really give yourself an edge. Now, I'm going to be using Kumbhakarna as a comparison here because he's probably not going to be splashing in too much damage himself. He's probably going to go pretty heavy on the defense. And we're going to have a nice side-by-side comparison of how much of an impact just building 1 or 2 damage items on Ymir can make in Joust compared to a standard support, which would be Kumbhakarna, assuming he is going to build a standard support build, which I am assuming for the sake of argument he will be. There's those 2. Yep. And Kumbhakarna has, looks like he's going for Gauntlet of Thebes first. We're going to just wall them off. There we go. We got our nice Gilded Arrow proc. Notice I've just killed, I got the first blood. I might die for it, but that's fine. The fact that I got the first blood there is a pretty serious advantage over the enemy team. That is a huge boost for us. And I would never have been able to get that without Gilded Arrow. Even if I was a warrior building Warrior's Axe, I still probably would not have gotten that. Just indicating the sheer power of Ymir with Gilded Arrow, even in the early game. Now again, I didn't mind dying in that particular context because I was getting first blood, so it was easily worth it. Otherwise, I would have thought twice about it. Maybe not necessarily have been so willing to sacrifice myself so early, but it was a huge boost for the team. It really was, especially since Kronos got some assist credit there as well. Now notice we can pick up a pair of gold Gilded Arrow procs here. Get some nice extra gold. Got our mana back. Looks like Kronos is about to die while we're off farming. And again, notice how much damage I'm doing here. Actually, we're going to go ahead and let them deal with that. Notice I have not used my ult. I didn't bother using my ult there. I could have. I could have used my ult there, but it just wasn't going to be worth it for the cooldown. But notice how aggressively we were able to play that, how much damage I was dealing there. I need to get out of here. We're just going to try to get our arrow procs. There we go. We got one of them, which is good enough, I guess. Now the Kumbhakarna is going to be pretty aggressive here because I'm low on HP. I can't really tank much more, but I'm not really going to need to, on the other hand, so that's okay. In retrospect, I probably should have gone with regular health potions. Ooh. Nope, he did not make it. Close, but unfortunately no cigars were had here. I just want to help out with this one last wave for the purposes of getting some gold here. Ouch. Alright. I gotta get out of here. I need health. I need my protections. You know what? We'll go ahead and sell these. I really, considering that we're decently far ahead, we're really not gonna need these. We're gonna go ahead and rejoin the crew. I arrived in time for a bit of golden experience from that minion kill, apparently. Alright. Too bad I didn't get my Gilded Arrow proc, but that's okay. I was about to blink in, but then I realized that Kumbhakarna would just freeze me up. I would probably get CC trained by Nox. That was not going to work out too well for me. Oh, he fell back. Okay. Is he really? He is not really. He's lying through his teeth. Alright. Fair enough, dude. Nope. Oh, still got it. Good. Cut you off because I really don't want to fight right there. Not at this time. Kronos was back there, so I really didn't want to fight that. I'll be working on Shogun's Kusari pretty soon. Again, Kronos can really use it. Thanatos isn't going to mind more attack speed. And then I'll go into... Demonic Grip? Maybe not. I'm not necessarily sure Demonic Grip is the move there. I just wanted my Gilded Arrow proc. Alright. I'm just trying to prevent her escape. Alright. Are we gonna die? Ah, no, they missed everything. I'm trying. Seriously. I'm surprised she didn't go on to me. She could have. She could have silenced and rooted me. That would have been easy. Piece of cake. Nope, I'm gonna have to back farther than this. Alright, get this, and I want to get this, because it's pretty important that we cut off their source of information. Alright, they're going pretty aggressive there. I wasn't quite ready for that. I mean, they didn't do badly, but they definitely could have done a little bit more if they'd waited for me. But I can understand why they didn't. It's not like we were going to have another opportunity for them to go in on that, because they were just going for the mono buff, obviously. Where is Medusa? That's the question I ask right now. Alright, good. And hello. Yep. Yep, that's fantastic. Alright, we're going to try and play this a little bit safe here, because right now they're at a point where they can really slap us down. You can see we're a little far ahead because they only have one level 8 person. We have all three of us at least level 8. So you can definitely see the first blood kind of putting us at a mild advantage there. I missed out on my proc there, but that's fine. Hello. And again, we can just absolutely slap her down. I didn't even need my allies for that. I could just do that. Yes, they helped weaken her down, obviously, but ultimately, I would have been able to finish her off if I had not had Gilded Arrow. I just want to repeat that again, just for the emphasis. Makes a huge difference. I'm going to be blinking on Nox as soon as I get Blink, and I can draw out something out of Kumbhakarna. Let's see if I can actually draw it out through this. That was a much faster kill on that guy on the right than I was expecting, but alright. Okay. He barely missed that. Oh, I made a mistake. I made a mistake. Oh, Kronos died. That's what the problem was. Alright, I didn't realize he died until after I died. Whoops. Fair enough, fair enough. Now, do I really want Demonic Grip? He's going to be building up all kinds of... Or do I just want Hastened Ring? Telkinds maybe, but I'm really not feeling it. Demonic Grip has such a high boost in attack speed. Well, I'll wait and see what happens here. Definitely want... Well, maybe not necessarily definitely. I want Stone to fall. Pull my support duties there. Keep the enemy off my ally. Take care of that wave. Oh, that's up. Alright, let's go steal their mana buff. How did that not hit her? Okay. Okay, he took her out. Excellent. Where's Nox? Is she over there? I can't tell. Oh yeah, she is over there. Okay. I was kind of wondering where is Nox? Not today, Kumba. Not today. Okay, I shouldn't be here. Not by myself. I slap, but not that hard. Excellent. Yeah, I'm gonna go back too. We need another ward right here. Are you seriously? No, you're not. Alright. Alright, my next move, Stone and Fall. That'll help keep me alive longer. That'll mean I don't have to worry quite as much about surviving. Specifically Medusa, who is starting to build crits. I might have to go into a Spectral. I'm not really sure yet if Medusa's going to do enough damage with her crits, but that's something that can be decided later. For now, Stone of Fall will work as a stopgap. Even if I'm wrong, it'll still be fairly useful up until the point where I need to make the switch. But for now, it'll work. You are building stacks. Okay, you are now building stacks. So close, so close. Just make sure that Kronos doesn't get hit by that. Okay. Kumbhakarna moved a little bit faster on that than I was expecting him to. I need to get out. I'm not going to survive that. You went with the wrong person. Alright. Here comes Medusa pretty soon. We don't have Thanatos back up yet. I'm waiting for her to make her move. Okay. Oh, I'm dead. She accurately predicted where I was going to try to juke that. That was good. That was good. She played that pretty well. Upgrade my freeze. Next, we're going to start on the wall. I need what? That's a good question. Shell? Maybe? Heavenly Wings, I think, actually, would be a better pickup here. Help keep up with Medusa and Nox. Kumbhakarna's got a pretty short dash, so I'm not too concerned about that. $70 seconds for Blink. Okay. Should have bought a Sentry Ward. I didn't even think of that for some reason. Keeping decently pace with us, so we're going in on this. Okay, he's going on. That was a hot wall. Okay, perfect. Okay, good. I had my wall up if I needed to cut them off anyways. And this is not a problem. This is not a problem. We're out. No. Slow him down. What is Medusa thinking? I also want to keep an eye on Nox. I know she's over there. Hello. I walk right into that. Cool. Okay, she predicted the wall, which was good. Alright, let's see if I can loop around and grab someone. was a bold attempt, but ultimately useless. Ooh, ooh, there we go. Level up the wall. He's ulting, I assume. I just want to make sure he doesn't get silenced and killed. Alright. Ooh. That was close. That was a spicy save by Kronos, though. That was nice. It was beautiful teamwork. Alright, what are we going to need next? It's a lot of crits. It's a lot of crits. I'm kind of concerned. Alright. We're going to have to go into spectral armor, in all honesty. We're just going to need it. And I'll go into, I will go into Talisman of Energy, which will really help Thanatos, who doesn't have an escape. Help Kronos, who's technically got his ultimate as an escape, but not really something that I would want to rely on personally. When I play Kronos, I don't want to rely on that, and I can't imagine he does either. So that'll be really useful. It'll be an interesting, mostly tanky. I might sell Stone of Fall in favor of Toxic Blade, possibly. I might sell it for Demonic Grip, actually. I'm not 100% sure yet what I want to do with that. I'm not likely... Oh, he went in. Whoops. Didn't realize he'd gone in. I guess I'll just tank this damage really quick. Yeah. I was not paying enough attention. Anyway, I was too busy thinking about what I was going to do with Stone of Fall. That's on me. Actually, I can grab some Gilded Arrow stacks, procs right here. There we go. Alright. Okay. Not quite how I would imagine that going, but okay. I'm definitely going to need Spectral Armor. That really slapped. Oh, that was bad coordination on their part. Okay. You don't have much mana left there, Nox. I want to be careful with this. I don't have enough health for this. But then Medusa just went on to Thanatos back here. Thank you for using your sleep at that specific point there, Kumba. Helped a lot. Get dodged, fool. Another nice try. Go ahead and grab this really quick. You are insistent on trying to kill me, but I was merely the distraction for Thanatos. I need to get out of here, though. Alright. Spectral Armor. Nice. And Talisman of Energy. And then I'm going to need to figure out what I'm going to do with Stone of Fall. If that turns out to be Aussie, I'm going to go for Toxic Blade. I'll replace Stone of Fall with Toxic Blade. Once I get, it depends. I might buy Diamond Arrow first, I'm not sure. What the heck are you doing? I could have blocked that if I'd been paying a bit more attention. I don't know why, but I'm spacing out here. I could have saved him. That was a bad move on my part. Okay. Yes. I do owe him an apology. Really? You're kind of cut off from the world here, guy. You don't have the advantage you think you do. No. I don't like this. This should be interesting. You dare approach me. Oh, I gotta get out of here. Okay. Almost have Talisman of Energy. She built Toxic Blade. Oh, she has Aussie over here. I'm blind. Oh my goodness. Hold on. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm in some trouble here. Yep. All I needed was the opportunity to put up the wall, which is why I froze Kumbhakarna there specifically rather than the other two. The other two weren't going to be able to kill me in time without Kumbhakarna's help, so I needed to wall him off. Well, I needed to freeze him to get the wall off, or to ensure I got the wall off. If he'd rooted me, the wall would have been much harder to pull off, because if he'd been on my side of the wall, he could have put me to sleep, the wall would have come down, they would have been able to kill me afterwards. So that wasn't going to work out for fairly obvious reasons. Alright. I imagine they just took that, yeah. Alright, so it looks like based on my level, I'm about to hit level 17. Alright. Ah, he's too deep. But he missed that. No. Oh, hello. I need to get out of here. Holy cow, he's in there. Shoot. Ah. I didn't know he'd gone back in. Do I have enough to... Yes. Alright. I mean, bold move. Just running through that like that. But the Thanatos is being way more aggressive than I'm ready for. I'm okay defense-wise, for the most part. I could probably do with a little bit more magic protection if I was being honest, but that's okay. Toxic Blade should be what I need. They're going to take that tower. We can't stop that. I need to just assume that Thanatos is going to do something wild. He keeps going in when I'm not quite ready. I wouldn't have exited that Phoenix if I'd known he was still in there. Here he goes. It was a good play by the Nox, honestly. I should come back with the wave here. Oh my goodness, he is so diehard about this. I mean, I understand he's Thanatos, but there's a limit here. Alright. Right now what I'm really just trying to do is gather up enough gold so that way when I hit level 20 I can get the diamond arrow. No, we need to back off. Shoot. No. I'm gonna die. But I got Kronos out. That's fine. I really need Diamond Arrow. He's going for that? Oh, okay, that's because Thanatos is on his way. Alright, that makes sense. I hadn't seen that on the map. Yeah, they're not gonna... They need the Bull Demon King. Me, I still don't have the level I need for Diamond Arrow, so we're just gonna upgrade these. And go for Potion of Power. Or not, apparently. Thanatos should not be fighting the Bull Demon King. I mean, he'll make it, but he shouldn't have been doing that by himself, just in case. The Kronos had an eye on the other two, yes. But, I mean, you can see clearly right here that he's lost sight. There's Kumbhakarna back there, alright. I was going to say, you can't see Kumbhakarna. Kumbhakarna could have been going off to the Fire Giant for all you knew. Especially since he can actually go around that crook area there and sneak by that way. Even if Kronos had seen him go back to the fountain, he could have just slipped around the side there and Kronos wouldn't have been any wiser about it. Unless Kronos was keeping a specific eye on that, which is a little bit difficult. He didn't have any ward coverage or anything. Yes, it worked out. Yes, the Kronos was keeping an eye on things, but it was still a bit of a risk just in case he turned around or he was focusing on a minion or something. It was just a bit risky. That's what I'm talking about. Let's have some calls here. Are you in the air already? No, you're not. Alright. No. They're not even contesting this. Shoot. Yeah, I'll tank this forever. Okay, let me just... I guess I don't have a choice. Holy cow, I'm taking way too much damage from this. There we go. Holy cow. That was quite something. But, yeah, I mean, I went only 4 and 5 and 12, but considering the early game, you could see how potent that was in the early game and how much damage that was doing. And the late game really was more of a problem of a lack of coordination. Thanatos going in when I wasn't quite ready. There was miscommunication between Thanatos and I, and there were 2 moments where I could have saved Thanatos very specifically with just an easy wall. It worked out in the end, but I was definitely not playing my best there. But even, like, right off the top, the Gilded Arrow was making a much bigger difference than what Kumbhakarna was doing, and that's really the problem with a lot of support gameplay, I think you'll find if you play support consistently, is really just the problems inherent with the role being its early game. It's very tough to play an effective early game support, because until you have your protections up, until you have your first complete protection item, you're really not going to be surviving too much here. Right? It's very difficult to survive the early game as a support. Again, mostly because you don't have the items you need. There are certain exceptions. Kumbhakarna's sleep is an incredibly potent piece of crowd control for helping you get to that point, because if somebody attacks you, you put them to sleep, you leave. Unless you're going for the belly flop move, the one where he sends a minion out. Unless you're leveling that first, your sleep move will be enough to keep you alive in the early game a lot of the time as Kumbhakarna. Ymir has his freeze, you know, and his well as well. It's pretty easy for Ymir to escape from negative situations, but the Gilded Arrow on top of that really allows Ymir to contribute to the early game damage output. And if I'd been able to get away with building Demonic Grip, I probably would have done a little bit more in that particular category, but I needed, for the purposes of my team and for survival, I needed Spectral Armor, and Talisman of Energy was just a natural follow-up to bring my magic protections up to the par that I needed them to be at, as well as helping Thanatos and Kronos a bit more. So this wasn't quite as damage-heavy as the previous build you saw in the previous episode in Clash, and that's fine. What I really wanted to open your eyes to with the past 2 episodes is that you can splash some damage into Ymir, but you don't necessarily need to build much more than Gilded Arrow if you really don't want to. In this particular context, it was more important for me to have what I had, Toxic Blade for the anti-heal, Shogun's Kusari, and Talisman of Energy to help Thanatos and Kronos. Shogun's Kusari was more for Kronos, Talisman of Energy was a bit more for both, but definitely a little bit more for Thanatos, who more needed the movement speed. The Breastplate of Valor was for the cooldowns, pretty specifically, which not only helped me deal better damage in the early game and even the mid game, but it also helped me get my abilities up faster for when my allies needed them. Again, I let Thanatos down twice, which was my own fault, but I could have saved him very easily because I had the Ice Wall off cooldown, and part of that was because of the cooldown from both Shogun's Kusari and from Breastplate of Valor. And the Spectral Arm was just to keep me alive against the Medusa, really. So ultimately, it was a mostly defensive build. I splashed a little bit of damage in there because it really helps in Joust specifically. And just in terms of just looking at player damage, I did 10,000. That was a decent bit more than Kumbhakarna here, right? It doesn't seem like 1,000 damage doesn't seem like a lot, but then you also look at my minion damage, which was much higher than Kumbhakarna's, and Kumbhakarna has pretty safe wave clear. I actually had more minion damage than even these two. Now, part of that is the camps, of course, but it's still a substantial amount. So, there is that as well. Just to show you an example, while most of my damage was focused in on the minions, again, I was contributing a decent amount of damage to the team fights. So, it's just that I wanted to open your eyes to the possibilities here. Again, don't feel obligated to build Demonic Grip, for instance, if you don't need it. You have to, and this goes back to what I say all the time about support builds, you have to be able to flex to the needs of the situation. As the match evolved, the needs changed. I should have probably built... No, I built Toxic Blade about where I needed to. I didn't notice how early Medusa had built Aussie. So I was on the fence about it until I realized she had Aussie. But, you know, I needed the anti-heal, and Toxic Blade was a natural pick. When working with Gilded Arrow and in future Diamond Arrow, it works really well. Get some penetration in there as well. Some movement speed to help keep up with your allies, especially Thanatos and Kronos, both of whom have movement speed buffs that I can't replicate naturally. So having Toxic Blade really helps with that. That's an aside. That's more of a specifically team thing. But in this particular context, that movement speed from Toxic Blade really helped. And then we've got health out of the Toxic Blade. We've got all these wonderful things out of Toxic Blade. And it's just, you know, the needs of the situation. Now let's examine Kumbhakarna and see whether or not he really fit the needs of the situation. Now, Gauntlet of Thebes was a really great opening choice. That's fantastic. Good move. Voidstone, I somewhat question this. The reason why I question this is because, yes, I was building Gilded Arrow, but it was very obvious from Breastplate of Valor that I wasn't building solely on damage. I was clearly going for at least a hybrid build. So in this particular moment with Voidstone, especially considering how much damage Thanatos can bust out, it might have been better for Kumbhakarna to build some physical protections. Now, Voidstone isn't necessarily wrong here. Keep that in mind. Between Kumbhakarna and Nox, there was a certain need for magic protections down. Considering Kronos and I doing magic damage, there was a certain need for magical protections. My issue here is not necessarily that Voidstone is the wrong thing to build here. It's just, it's too early. Notice that it's a 10% magic protection reduction. That's not really going to make a big difference in the early game, where everyone has under 50 magic protections. Even myself at this point, I think I had 45, 46, maybe tops 50, because I was working on Breastplate of Valor first. So at such low levels, level 3, 4, 5, actually, at the point he was probably building this, it would probably be about level 7 or 8. I still didn't have that much in the way of magic protections because I wasn't building them yet. So this was a little bit early to build this. Breastplate of Valor would have been a much better opening. First off, you would have had your sleep off cooldown much more often, which would have really helped against Thanatos. The root as well, really good against both Thanatos, and actually his root would have been, it was a devastating crowd control for our whole team because none of us had an escape. Again, Kronos has his ultimate, Thanatos has his ultimate technically, but it's not like any of us had a dash or a jump that we could consistently use to get away from Kumbhakarna's root. So this probably should have been the second item just for the cooldowns alone, let alone the physical protections and the mana. Pridwin, again, a pretty overrated item, and I really don't like this on Kumbhakarna because you run the risk of accidentally waking up an enemy you might not want waking up at that point, with Pridwin's passive, so I really hate this on Kumbhakarna. Again, primarily because it can wake up targets that you want to stay asleep. Contrary to popular opinion, well, actually, I don't know what popular opinion is on Kumbhakarna's sleep because it really depends by the individual, but when I put someone to sleep as Kumbhakarna, most of the time I'm looking for them to stay asleep as long as possible. You want to time waking them up to as close to the last possible second as possible, because the longer they sleep, obviously they're stationary, and then when you wake them up right before the sleep naturally ends, then they get a move and attack speed debuff. So you really want to try to stall out the sleep as much as possible, and Pridwin makes this a bit more difficult. You ult and you put them to sleep, and then pop goes Pridwin, and now you don't have that option anymore. So I really, really don't like Pridwin on Kumbhakarna for specifically this reason. Also, you will notice he's got 40% cooldowns right here with Pridwin and Breastplate of Valor, which is probably why he bought Pridwin. But if you just build a Potion of Power or whatever, I believe Potion of Power gives 10% cooldowns. Why not anymore? No, I don't think it does. But he's running 40% cooldown here, and 30% would have been just fine if you really needed it, but there are better ways of getting 20% cooldown besides. Pestilence, this was really late. This actually should have been second. If he was going to build magic protections, this should have been second. Personally, I would have, if I were him, I would have, as I did here, I built Breastplate of Valor first. He probably should have also built Breastplate of Valor, well, second, technically, and then gone into Pestilence, because Thanatos is self-healing. Kronos had the Ring of Hecate right off the top, so he was self-healing, right? So Pestilence would have been a much better third item. And then Tainted Steel was also a very late time to be picking that up. So, just as a comparison here, right? Just, I've built a little bit of damage. I had a stronger impact, not a hugely stronger impact, but again, keep in mind that I was not playing particularly well. That's very obvious throughout this game. That was some terrible gameplay on my part, but it's enough to show the kind of difference it can make just to splash a little bit of damage on Ymir. So if you play Ymir, or if you're looking for a Guardian to play in Joust, Ymir is an excellent choice, because you throw on that Gilded Arrow and no other attack item, and you can actually make a pretty decent contribution to fights for damage. So, with that in mind, if you liked this, please like and subscribe. If you didn't, please ignore me. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, ideas, suggestions, or requests, please leave them down in the comment section below. And thank you all very much for joining me, and have a great 24 hours.